I'd like to introduce Jessica Siegfried, branding specialist and mom of a sweet pitty named Beefy Bull.
Beefy Bull, yeah.
Before we get started, can you please explain where that name came from?
Well, his name is really just Bull because when he was a puppy, he was a bull in a china shop. Like, he just didn't know his size, and he was overly friendly. And then I got involved in animal rescue, and one of the rescues just dubbed him Beefy Bull. So that's been his hashtag. So that's just
I love
his
it.
thing. Yeah.
I love it. So let's start and tell us a little bit more about you. How did you get started into the design and advertising world?
Oh, geez. Well, my entire life I've been involved in the arts. Everything. As soon as I could pick up a pencil, I was drawing, painting, sketching. I did photography. I did stained glass. I did pottery, like all the things. Like, if it had something to do with creativity and art and making something, I was all about it. So when I graduated from high school, I went to college for secondary art education because I thought I wanted to, spread this joy. And then I realized I'm not really the most patient individual, and I'm not that great at teaching, and I don't love children so much. and I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I doing all these things? Because I thought it'd be great to have, summers off. If I worked at a school, it'd be great. So I had my first graphic design course, and I laid my hands on that mouse, and it was instant gratification for me. Like, I just never looked back. I mean, sure, I still dabble here and there with, like, painting and stuff like that. But basically, I just kind of never turned back. Just right out there. Yeah.
Awesome. So you've been really just creative since you've been itty-bitty.
Oh, forever. Yeah.
Awesome. So then growing up, what was the most who had the most influence on you and why?
Probably, I would say my mom probably, where she wasn't really artistic, she was creative. So she would sew, she was into all kinds of crafts and embroidery and, painting and stuff, like all the things. But my father and my grandfather also had artistic talents. So it was one of those things where they definitely fostered it in me throughout my life. And especially in school, like, once that kind of started to shine a little bit, where math and things of that nature fell behind me, right. I definitely excelled in the arts. So that, and then I had a high school art teacher that really helped me kind of bloom in the art field. So
nice.
She was great.
And did you get any feedback from other people outside of the art world? Did you have people that encouraged you, that saw your talent just from kind of an outsider perspective? Or how did you really kind of know? Like, what in it, like, what did you sense inside yourself that you just knew this is your gift and this is something that you should be doing?
It was just something that always came very easily to me, and it just lit a fire in me. I really was never interested in anything else except for anything art, all kinds of just creating and being able to take something like a vision, an idea, and bringing it to life and making it something tangible. Like, that just does it for me. I love it.
It's very, very rewarding.
Yeah.
And that's where that little spark comes from. So what about what were some of your setbacks that you encountered along the way, kind of in the process? So, you started out as a young girl and you were always interested in art. Mm-hmm. And then, you kind of went along your way and into your path and started getting into design after several different modalities of creating art. Mm. What did you notice? When we have passion, we're driven and fueled by that. Mm. So what were some of the setbacks that you had, and how did you push through those setbacks from when you were, more so a little bit older, getting into college, to being an adult, and kind of how did you get through those situations?
They weren't so much challenges, more like they weren't problems so much as challenges, like puzzles to be solved, kind of. It's one of those things where being a creative and being in the digital world, people assume that you're just pushing a button. You push the button and it's done, and right. It's great, and it ROI and sales and cash registers are ringing, and it's not that way. Like, there's a process to get through it, and everyone's process is different. So I think my thing in the very beginning was just the time constraint on everything, like, because I had never when you're in college and they give you projects, they're like, okay, you have 3 weeks to complete this, flyer or something. And then you get into the real world and they're like, all right, you have 35 minutes. You're going to print. Let's go. Exactly. So it was about that, about really being able to dial in and streamline everything and just kind of cut all of the bullshit out, kind
Right.
of, you know,
Right.
and also being able to take constructive criticism. You know, you can't take it personally just because as much as you're designing it and it's your design, you're designing it for someone else. Like it's their vision, their baby that you're trying to pull out of them and bring to life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what were some of the things that you did before you got into design, like stained glass and like all the things, right?
Yeah.
Like what made you really want to move specifically to graphic design?
Into advertising. It's just, I've always loved, you know, magazines and print ads and, you know, the hook and like something clever. Like it's not just an image or text. It's the combination of all of it that brings it to fruition. And I've just always been drawn to that. And I've always been like big into books and reading and magazines. And I'm just very, like I can come up with headlines really quickly. And I love, you know, entendres and it's something that I've always just been good at it, and I just kind of like that's what I focused on, and it was just easy for me.
Yeah, and I think I see that a lot with people when we feel like we're supposed to be a certain way or do a certain thing, and there's a constant pushback, right? And you either push through it or you keep getting pushed back. From me, from experience and also witnessing other people's journeys, I really feel that our true gifts are something that it just flows, right?
Yeah.
And not to say that there aren't challenges, because the challenges are what help you grow, right? And I feel like you can get frustrated, but you there's so much passion and spark behind
Right.
what you do that it's almost like a competing with yourself,
Kind of.
right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a natural adrenaline rush in itself.
Absolutely.
So now that you're an established designer and design and marketing, what is it that kind of tears on your heartstrings, like pulls on your heartstrings? You know, something that you're passionate about. I know that you love pit bulls and you're a huge advocate.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your labor of love that you've been working on.
Well, my first labor of love, I would say, is, you know, my day job as a designer. I really love working with small businesses, people who are starting out, like people who have this vision and an idea, and they're really just putting everything on the line to just like take this leap of faith and try. So I really love being a part of that and bringing their vision to life. And aside from that, just because I just have all these crazy ideas all the time, I decided to start a company called Pity Chicks when I adopted my first pit bull. So I'm a pit bull advocate. It is apparel and accessories for chicks who love pit bulls. Like I started at a 5K race to rescue in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I had like two designs. There was a girl and a boy, Pity Chick. The girl had pearls. The boy had a bow tie. And that was it. And I sold out. And then next thing you know, people are like, what else are you going to do? What are you going to do next? And now I have like over 150 designs, and we sell all over the world. I have a threadless shop. It's great.
Wow.
But that's my way also to give back. Because where I don't have enough time to be boots on the ground to actually be volunteering with the dogs in the shelters, at least what I can do is help support the shelters and the rescues by, you know, designing shirts for them that they sell as fundraisers or flyers or invitations to events that they have. Just my little way to give back.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. And Beefy Bull, how old is he?
Beefy Bull is going to be 13 in April.
Wow.
So, yeah, he's my little bionic bull, we call him. He's had like 14 surgeries in his entire life. He's battled cancer 3 times, twice subcutaneously in his face.
Aww.
And then he recently lost his eye to acute glaucoma. Like he's a train wreck, but I tell him chicks dig scars, so it's totally fine. He's my little buddy. He's my shadow. Follows me everywhere. He's probably having a meltdown right now on my husband because I left him home with him while I came here.
I bet. I love it. So what about kind of digging a little deeper as far as kind of looking back on how far you've come and how far you want to go, utilizing the passion that you have for what you do. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
I will probably still be doing just about the same thing. Like, I'm really happy with this little niche that I put myself in, and there's thoughts of expanding and like really like bringing on more people, but I really enjoy being the hands-on person. When someone comes to Thrive, they come to me and they expect me to be the one to do the work. So I'm not that person that's going to like take them in, yes, I'm death, farm it out to someone else. Like, I don't. Plus, I just have a really hard time letting go of the reins.
Right.
So I just really enjoy being the one that actually makes the products, creates everything for them. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you're not working?
Oh, geez. Well, being here in Arizona, I've only been here about 2 years now. I'm really enjoying this state. It's crazy. 2 hours north, you're in Flagstaff, and I'm snowshoeing. 4 hours, I'm paddleboarding at Horseshoe Bend or rappelling in Antelope Canyon. Like, it's opened up a whole new adventure side of me. Like, previous to moving here, my idea of being outdoorsy was drinking on a patio. Like, I did not travel. I did not adventure. And now I actually joined a group. It's called She Roams Retreats, and it's specifically for females and empowerment, and we do all kinds of cool stuff like that. Like, I think they're even going to Peru this summer. Like, just crazy stuff.
Oh,
it's
wow.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's my guilty pleasure. I like doing that, and also I could just float in the pool for hours reading a book. Like, I just nothing. Like, I just want to check out sometimes. So
I hear you on that one. So what are some current reads that you're reading right now?
oh my gosh, I just finished one called First Lie Wins. It was kind of like a suspense thriller kind of thing. It's funny because I love reading books like that, suspense, thriller, true crime, like Dean Koontz, Stephen King. Like, I love that stuff, but I can't watch a scary movie to save my life. And I think it's partially like the anticipation in the music. I'm just like, nope, can't do it. But I could read it all day long. It doesn't
Right.
faze me at all.
You can control the visuals.
Exactly.
On that,
Yes,
visual.
totally.
Well, I love your story and just the process that you sound very driven and that you really knew at a young age what you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. What would you tell our listeners and viewers out there, for those that are struggling with what direction to go in, what their true gifts are? I feel like a lot of us really try to push to fit, a square peg in a round hole. Mm-hmm. It's just, I really feel like it's so simple, right? But it's not.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend for someone who really wants to get into a certain niche or a certain industry, but is struggling? Mm. What would you recommend?
I would say definitely test the waters at least. You don't have to like cannonball in kind of deal, but definitely if there's something that you're interested in, something you think is really going to light your fire more so than what you're doing, try it out. Do some research, take some classes, just YouTube it. There's so many ways that you can really sample different options and businesses. And I mean, it's amazing now, like with the work from home, before COVID, it was hard for me to have conversations with clients and they'd be like, well, but you moved. So are you still available? I'm like, yes, absolutely. As long as I'm plugged in, I can talk to you from anywhere. I can work on things. I've worked on menus in Rome for a place in Scranton. Like, it's crazy,
wow.
But COVID kind of helped that because people got more used to the fact that you could be more fluid. You don't have to physically be in the room with someone, like Zoom, phone calls, all that stuff. So, I mean, I think it's kind of opened a lot of doors for people where they normally wouldn't have that.
Right.
So, I think it would be cool.
Awesome. So I have a few questions for you. Fun questions. The first one is, what is one of your guilty pleasures and why?
Botox. Botox is my favorite guilty pleasure. Being in the advertising industry for 25 years, like, you get stressed. Like, you have the permanent 11s when you're like digging in, working on a project. Oh, yeah. So like when I started Thrive almost 8 years ago, my gift to myself was Botox. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I feel like someone airbrushed my face and it's so amazing. And then I run into people and they're like, oh my God, you're how old? I'm like, it's the Botox. But yeah, that, and I do. I love traveling. I love wine and food and, all the good things. Yeah.
All the things.
All the things, really.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
What is currently on repeat on your Pandora playlist?
My Pandora is ridiculous. I listen to everything from Notorious B.I.G. to Bob Seger. I have Michael Bublé, Jim Brickman. Like, it's just, I'm all over. It really kind of depends on like what kind of mood I'm in that day or what kind of project I'm working on. Like, sometimes it's just like subtle meditation music. Sometimes it's like Godsmack. Like, it's kind of crazy. But I'm also like that. I try to be a chameleon to each of my projects.
Right.
That's kind of my thing.
I love that. I knew there was a reason why we connected, right? Just kind of a melting pot of music and
craziness.
Yeah. And the old school rapper comes out in me. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah. My daughter will hate seeing me just do that little move there, by the way. It's not cute. What is a funny or special talent that you have that no one knows about you until now, of course?
I really don't have any crazy. My talent is my art. That's like my talent. So I don't know. I used to be able to draw with both hands. I was ambidextrous for a while. But then, when you go to Catholic school, they tell you have to pick one and it should be your right because there's more right-handed than left or something like that. And now I can't do anything with my left. Which that was kind of like a weird little thing to say, but I don't know. I can't think of anything really.
So no funny little, perhaps embarrassing things that you can do?
No, not really. Honestly, no.
Well, you'll have to think about that one.
I will. I'll think about it and I'll remember it like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be like, what about that?
I mean, a good example would be 16 Candles. Mm-hmm. I think, it was Breakfast Club. And she would put a lipstick down her shirt and then put lipstick on. That would be a good example. What is your favorite curse word?
Fuck, by far. I use it like a comma. I'm always trying to rein it in. But I do hear that creatives use it more often than other people. So I like to.
Yeah, that's fucking cool.
It's fucking great, isn't it? Like fucking A, right?
Yeah, it has so many purposes. It
really does. It's a verb, it's a noun, it's an adjective, it's so many things.
Awesome. Why don't you tell me a little bit about the process that you go through with your clients and then post-production?
So I'm a little bit different, I would say, than most people. A lot of folks like to, they send you a questionnaire and you fill out all these things and you're like, who's my target audience? Like, what am I doing? And you feel like you're filling out homework. But when I have conversations, I just call them design consultations, discovery calls, and just sit and kind of chat with them about it. And I just kind of ask them questions about like, how did you get here? What was your vision? What was your purpose? What needs are you filling? And just in hearing their stories about how they got to this point, generally I'll have an idea of what they need or how it's going to look before I ever get off the phone or off a Zoom with them. It's just one of those things where I kind of intuitively, like they don't even realize that they're tipping me off to things, but they'll say things and I'm just like storing it in the back of my head. I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to do. And as soon as like I could hit the ground running immediately from there. And for the most part, it's a pretty quick process with me, I would like to say. I mean, I've been doing it for 25 years, so I really do have it dialed in. And when I say dialed in, I don't mean like the entire process because there's always, the approval process and everything. Like you have to go through all the motions and figure everything out. But I can usually figure out what somebody's going to need, at least. It might not be exactly what they want, but it is what they need kind of thing. So,
right. And so how do you when you get pushback from that, like you're guiding them, you're the professional, you're telling them what they need. How do you kind of mold them into kind of going back to what you're suggesting?
I like to throw in a wild card. That's what I always call it. I'll give them exactly what they want. I'll let them see it. And also the way that I work, I build all of my logos to start in grayscale. That way we can focus on structure and apply color later. Because people are so drawn to color. If I use purple and pink and they want a green and blue, they're like, oh, I don't like it. But if I switch it, they might like it. So if I focus on grayscale first, I can really dial it in for them. And I completely forgot what else I was saying. What was the question?
It was about kind of what the process is that you use for a client when there's a push and pull. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was saying, I will give them basically exactly what they want. and then I'll give them my version. Be like, this is what I think that you need. It's kind of like when I went wedding dress shopping. I wanted this big, fluffy icing thing. It was massive. And the girl was like, I'll let you try it on, but I'm going to give you what you really need. And she literally gave me this other dress, and I was like, damn it, I'm done. This is it. I thought I was going to go for this big, long shopping thing, and dress number 2 was my winner.
Right.
You know, and it happens like that a lot. Like, they'll be like, well, no, I really think I want, like, all right, we'll do that, but here's what I think you need.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this feels right. I'm like, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry it was so easy, but, you know.
I know.
I'm like, I got it. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So give us an example of an existing client or a past client that you've worked with that you like, how you took them through that process and kind of how it evolved.
Yeah. So always being in the arts, I've always leaned towards working in the field wherever I was. Like, even while I was going to school, I was working as a photographer. I got a job at a lifestyle magazine as I was still going to school. So I was, as long as I had a computer and a mouse, like, I was good to go. I would go to school, I would go to work, I would come home, and I would start freelancing. So one of the companies that I freelanced with is Constantino's Catering and Events. So this is years ago. I'm going to say I was probably like a freshman or sophomore in college, and I started working with them. And they started by making his grandmother's pasta recipe. They were literally working like out of a garage, making these little bags, cellophane, and we designed stickers and they put on them. And it went from that to like gift baskets. And they weren't just like a gift. It was like all the things, like all these amazing foods. And then he started catering, and it was like offsite catering. So then we shifted them from that to packaging to a catering thing. And he did mainly like on location for the longest time. And then he bought his first venue. So then we got to brand the venue. We got to do all the menus, like all of that. Their vans, their website, like everything. And now he has multiple venues. A year or two ago, he actually renovated this really old general store, and they turned it into Bailey's Cafe and Events. So it's these so cute. It's adorable. But I got to do the branding. So there's like signage, windows, menus, package design for their to-go cups and everything. And then from that, and then now he has the suites on Main. So they did like these really cute like suites upstairs for people who are staying, for people in their wedding industry, basically, like the brides and stuff. So like they have someplace cute to stay while they're in town for, you know, the showers or whatever that they're hosting. But it's pretty neat to go from like something small and just, it's grown so much. And they also opened another place at another client of mine, actually, Malatesi Wine Cellars. So it's this big, beautiful venue that overlooks the endless mountains, and it's got wine. It's just stunning. Like, it's just amazing.
That's so cool just to see them just starting. And then and you were starting out as a young designer.
Yeah, we grew together.
Yeah. I mean, that's very cool.
That's why I love getting in. I mean, I work with people who already have logos, people who need to rebrand, people who have a brand and they just need like cohesive marketing that goes along with it. I do that all the time, and I'm great with that. But there's also something to be said when you jump in at the logo level and then everything just kind of rolls together seamlessly with it, and it's just chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's a good feeling for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's funny that that you and I have kind of flip-flopped our roles, because you started out doing photography and then moved into design and marketing. And I started out in design and marketing and moved into photography. But, I mean, we definitely have a connection, right? I appreciate everything that you've shared with us today, and just you really have some wonderful gifts. And I'm very impressed. And I mean, I've seen your work, and it's very nice.
Thank you.
Very good stuff.
I try.
Well, it helps that you love to do what you do.
I do.
So
I really do.
And I think that's important for people to realize that it doesn't have to be difficult. I mean, our gifts come to us naturally, and stop, rolling the ball uphill when you can hop on and just roll up and down.
Ride with the adventure.
Yeah, and hold on for the ride. Yeah. So just keep that in mind. And any last words for any advice for our listeners out there about staying true to who they are?
I would say, I was just going to say, stay true to who you are. Just be as authentic as possible. Nobody needs smoke blown up their ass. Like just be real with people. It's just so much easier in life, Like don't try and force things that don't work. If it doesn't work and if it doesn't feel right, go in a different direction, So it's kind of my philosophy.
100%.
Yeah, totally.
You have been amazing, Jessica. I'm so glad you got to come here today and chat a little bit.
Yes,
hopefully I can have you back again sometime soon and we can talk more about your Pity Foundation and all the good things you're doing. And I'm so honored to have you and to be a part of this new podcast series, The She Spark. Also, if you're interested in an empowering portrait session or a mindful intuitive reading, you can book a session with me, NicholeKathrynStudios.com, or visit my Instagram at Nichole, Nichole, Kathryn, Kathryn. And please let us know, Jessica, where our viewers and listeners can find you.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, online. It's thrivecreativedesign.com or, thrive_creative, I believe is my Instagram. And then you could also find Pity Chicks. That's at Pity Chicks, Pittie, chicks.com.
Awesome.